This is because the result of leading from behind. Now we have a situation where the largest extremist caliphate in history is now in Iraq and Syria, and we have no strategy. We have no strategy to degrade or defeat it.
Senator John McCain now blasting the administration, saying there's no strategy, as you heard, to defeat ISIS. The new backlash coming as we learn that some of the Paris attackers pledged solidarity with the terror army, calling for more attacks on the West. So what then? KT McFarland served as a Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense in the Reagan administration, Fox News national security analyst. Good morning to you. I think you've been picking up on that for some time.
Yeah, well, what Senator McCain is saying is we want to fight him over there so we don't have to fight him over here. That was really what President Bush tried to do, and we did that for 10 years. And we still have a problem over here. So I think that you need to step back and say, what's the bigger strategy? Well, the bigger strategy is fight him over there, fight him here, but fight him from within. Ultimately, unless it's an ideological victory, it's the only way we succeed.
Here is Martin Dempsey, Chairman of the Joint Chiefs, with Chris Wallace on Fox News Sunday about this.
Do we need to do more?
Well, I think so, absolutely. But that's not to imply we're not doing enough, if you understand the distinction there. We're doing a lot.
What he said was, we've been playing an away game against the enemy.
Well, and what he also said is we haven't been doing it very well, and because later on he talks about, well, we're going to wait, eventually ISIS is going to collapse from within. Okay, maybe, but they're going to do a lot of damage between now and then. For 10 years, we've tried to prop up an Iraqi army and Iraqi military to fight. They haven't done it. Now, maybe they will now, and so let's give them a little bit of help. But on the other hand, the question then becomes, what happens if a little bit of help that we give them isn't enough? Are we going to get in a bigger way in ground forces? And I think that also the administration has been sort of in a muddle from the very beginning.
What does that mean?
Well, in the initial foreign policy of the Obama administration was if Bush did it, we're going to do the opposite. Everything Bush did was wrong. Bush fought Iraq. That was the wrong war. We're going to fight Afghanistan. That's a good war. And so everything they did was in opposition to whatever Bush did. Well, that didn't work out. So then we had the Arab Spring. So then they thought, okay, we're going to support the Muslim Brotherhood. That's going to be our solution in the Middle East. That didn't work out because the Muslim Brotherhood turned out to be radical Islam. So they now aren't sure what they're doing, and they're sort of thrashing around. And I think that the fact that the president refuses to say radical Islam, he refuses to call it out. He even, at his initial reaction to the Paris attacks, wasn't terrorism. It was terrorism. Oh, you know, it was undue violence and terrorism.
And when pushed on it, they did not concede either. They still have not conceded yet. They're going to have this summit on violence in mid-February.
Not radical Islamic violence, violence.
What does the lack of our presence in Paris on Sunday say to our allies? Are we making a big deal out of this, KT, or do they perceive it to be the slight and the snub after years of being requested to get behind them?
It is such a big deal. It is not just a symbol. When we were attacked, they came to us. They came to our aid in every way, shape, and form. They helped us fight wars that they didn't necessarily want to fight. They were with us for a decade. And now something happens in Europe, and we've got a president who says, well, security concerns. That looks like cowardice. Or, you know, we didn't send the president, we didn't send the vice president, we didn't send the secretary of state. We sent nobody. We even had an attorney general who was coincidentally in town for that. He didn't even march with him. So either the president says, look, I'm above this. I am the president of the United States. I don't get involved with my allies in their crises. Or it looks like cowardice. Either way, I'm ashamed for my country.
Do you think that there's make-up behavior that comes as a result of this?
Oh, that the administration...
Well, they realize, hey, we screwed up. We dropped the ball here. We should have been there, and now we have to do something because of it.
I'm waiting to hear the words radical Islam. We're at war with radical Islam. The French Prime Minister said we're at war with radical Islam. The President of Egypt, the most powerful, largest, significant country in the Middle East, he went to the equivalent of his Vatican, and he said to his imams, it's your fault. Change, reform. We're going to have a problem unless you do. The entire Muslim world has a problem. And we have the President of the United States who's talking about senseless violence.
But Eric Holder yesterday was given the opportunity twice to call it radical Islam.
He won't.
No, he called it a war against terrorism. That's where the language is going to stay, KT. And if you don't call it what it is, it's not eco-terrorism, it's not narco-terrorism, then what are you left with?
Well, that's the whole problem. If you don't call it what it is, you don't know how to fight it. You got to identify it, you got to look it in the face, and then come up with a plan. And the plan is not to avoid it. You know, in the military, what they call leading from behind? That's cowardice.
Katie McFarland, thank you on a Monday.
Thank you.
See you later.